My article in Inside Track, the online publication of the State Bar, deals with the three different laws, one from the United States Supreme Court, one by the Wisconsin legislature, and one by U.S. Congress, that all deal with veteran rights. And what precipitated my article was a U.S. Supreme Court case in May of this year called Howell versus Howell that deals with the retirement pay of military personnel. And what the case did is limit the ability of state law to affect veteran retirement pay under a circumstance where the veteran had modified his pay from retirement pay into disability pay. It had an effect on his ex-spouse, which was detrimental to the ex-spouse and favorable to the veteran. And the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the law prohibited Arizona from essentially protecting the non-veteran spouse. I know I'm simplifying things a bit, but bear with me for a minute. And when I read Howell, it occurred to me that there is a consistency with, as I said, two other areas of law in this, for want of a better term. One of which was we reported in Flu, I think it was in January's Flu because it was in December, when a congressional act was passed which also affected veterans' retirement. And again, the effect of that law was detrimental to veteran spouses and positive for the veteran. And it raised a number of questions, some of which are too technical for me to handle because we don't handle a lot of military cases in this office, but created some real concern among lawyers who do regarding what the effect is in the veteran spouses. After all, as lawyers, we represent not just veterans in the divorce, but veterans' spouses in the divorce, and have an interest in protecting both. And my point is I'm not sure that Congress or the state legislature or the U.S. Supreme Court, newsflash, they're subject to political pressures, that their interest is in protecting the veteran spouse as opposed to simply the veteran. It's an issue that arose in Wisconsin a number of years ago when the legislature enacted an amendment to our placement statute that was designed to protect veterans in the event of deployment. What that statute did is say that essentially, I'm simplifying again, that veterans shouldn't be penalized if they're deployed in terms of placement of minor children. So obviously, if there's a placement schedule, a veteran has to go, say, overseas, and that's obviously going to probably eliminate their placement time for the period of deployment, that when they return, the court is supposed to reinstate the prior schedule. Superficially, it makes a lot of sense that veterans shouldn't be punished for being for going overseas, and that whatever the placement schedule was should go back to what it will be when their deployment is over. And I raised the question then when that law came into pass that aren't we ignoring in this entire equation the concept of best interests of the children? In other words, if the best interests of the children would not mean that the prior placement schedule go back into place, aren't we saying that, or is the legislature saying, let's ignore that because the rights of our veterans and the desire to protect our veterans is more important than the best interests of the children? In all three instances, it seems to me that there's an interesting political and sociological or societal argument in play here. And the political argument is that it is good politics to be on the side of the veterans. We appreciate people that are defending the country, that are serving the country, that are volunteering and risking, in some cases, their very lives to protect our freedoms. And that's a really good thing, and we want the law to protect that. But not necessarily to the exclusion of their spouses who, while the veteran is serving overseas or being deployed or just serving, are also serving in their own way by being in the States, oftentimes taking care of the children and taking care of the homes so that the veterans have a good appropriate place to return to, good appropriate children to return to as well. And the politics of it is to vote in favor of the veterans, regardless if there are other interests at stake or not. Because, to the best of my knowledge, while veterans have good lobbyists and have good politics on our side, there are no lobbyists for spouses of veterans. If there are, I don't know about them, and my guess is if there are, they're far less powerful than the political forces on the side of veterans. And most importantly, there are no lobbyists, or very few, on the side of children. And children are the ones that aren't spoken for in terms of the political system. It's not an easy issue because as I said, veterans do a great service. Everybody wants to help them and support them. But these three taken together lead me to wonder whether or not there's more global interests at stake, and everything in the world isn't just politics and isn't just politicians, and for that matter, courts, doing what is politically favorable or positive at the time. So my article on the subject goes in a little more detail, cites the relevant laws, and goes a little more detail of this argument. It's posted on my office website. Take a look at it. Tell me what you think. Shoot me an email. Let me know your thoughts if you think I'm full of it, and also like to hear from if you think I agree. It's an interesting, I think, position. I think there's more than one side of it, and I think that's sometimes what makes the practice of law interesting.